Alright gentlemen, what is up? It's about to get real on M3 rod bearings. So I've seen a couple people post in the comments that the M3, specifically the 2008 to 10 model years, mine's a 2009, are not reliable because of the rod bearing issues. Now, I've only heard this rod bearing thing mentioned maybe once in the last 5 or 6 years that I've owned the car. I've asked my shop if any of these cars have shown up with rod bearing failures when I had the fluids changed a couple weeks ago, and I dove into some discussion forums to really find out what's going on. So first things first, I think it's notable that it should be pointed to that bad news will reach 10 times more ears than good news. It's a simple fact. If somebody has a bad experience, then they usually go and bark and complain and whine about it. True story about human beings. It's just what we do. It's just better that we accept it and move past that point. So what I learned is there was about 26,000 M3s made from 2008 to, I believe, 2013 was the last year that they produced them, and that was in all the different variations of the finish and trims, whether it was a convertible, competition package, sedan, or coupe. They made a lot of them, so there's really a lot of these cars on roads. And let's be honest, I mean, BMW couldn't afford to build a car like this for the price they sell it for if they only made 500. So there's a lot of these cars on the road. So what I did was I was looking in the discussions to see what I could find as far as rod bearing failures, and simultaneously as I had searched in that, I also looked for high mileage M3s as well with the S65s. So again, you know, basically the car that I'm driving. Now, for the sake of clarity, they did update the part number for the rod bearings, I believe, in 2011 model years. There's a lot of discussion on the boards about the amount of clearance that BMW allowed for the 2008 to 10 rod bearings. A lot of motorsport guys seem to have chimed in, and it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Now, there's no distinction or differentiation on the forums onto whether or not these cars were modified. There were unmodified cars that did have engine failures, and what the engine failures sounded like was a loud ticking that got progressively louder, which was followed up by a complete loss of engine power. So the engine would go to limp mode or shut down. And those would typically be symptoms of a rod bearing failure, which is on the bottom part of the motor. Those of you that aren't inclined mechanically, just do a Google search for M3 rod bearing failure. You'll find all kinds of photographs of it. Now, back to my point of whether or not this is a real issue, or if it's, you know, contrived in people's minds. Again, 26,000 of these cars roughly were built, all with the S65 V8 in it, and out of that I found roughly 1,500 entries for discussion on rod bearing failures. Again, most people that have failures that are involved in the community, they will talk about it, because bad news gets a lot farther than good news. Now, out of the 1,500 entries that I saw, about 1 in 8 to 10 were actually people that had experienced a failure. There wasn't a lot, and there was a lot of people that were just chiming in and discussing, so it added up, you know, the count. I personally don't think that the rod bearing failure that everybody talks about, and it's happened in 2013 model year cars as well, is that significant, because I also found close to 2,000 entries on discussion boards with people discussing high mileage M3s. It's just one of the things that happens. It doesn't matter what car community that you're in. People will start asking questions when the car starts to age. How many miles you have in your car? How's it holding up? And this is just one of those cars that does tend to hold up. There's 2008, 9, 10 model year cars that have upwards of 200,000 miles. My car's my car's originally an American car. I brought it up to Canada, but it has about 88,000, 89,000 kilometers, which is less than 58,000 miles. These cars stand up to a lot of miles. I mean, all of these cars that I found on the discussion boards, there was mention of the rod bearing failure throughout the high mileage discussion pages, and you can go find these for yourself on pages like m3post.com and stuff like that. And there was tons and tons and tons of these cars that were running on original motors that had never been touched. Some of them were slightly modified with like a muffler section or an air filter, something very basic, maybe a pulley, that were running 150,000, 180,000, 200, 220,000 plus miles on them on the original motor. I think it's the luck of the draw on some of these engine failures. What I did find is that if there was going to be a rod bearing engine failure, it tended to happen at 30,000 miles or less, which is a good sign. So if you're shopping for a used M3 and you find one that has more than 30,000 miles on it and it's out of warranty, you're probably finding something that's, not a lemon, not one of the cars that might have been assembled with the poor rod bearing parts. I don't know much about the assembly date on this car. Honestly, I just can't be bothered to go look it up, but it's been reliable. It has no erroneous sounds or ticks or anything like that. I think for the most part, if you're looking for a used M3, it's a good, reliable, solid car. I've mentioned it before. I know some people have commented, oh, you're biased, you don't know what you're talking about, it's because you drive an M3. Well, I don't fucking own BMW. It's not like there's anything in it for me. I do happen to like Beamers, and I do prefer M cars to the Audis and the Mercedes-Benz AMG equivalent, just because of just the way they're built and balanced and the grip and everything. But if you're going to go looking for an M3 and you want to avoid the rod bearing failure issue, either find one with an extended warranty or find one that has more than 30,000 miles, and you should be tickety-boo. I hope that helps. I was a little bit concerned when I started to read some of the comments about people saying rod bearings were failing and these cars are shit and I should be worried. So I did my own due diligence and research, and that's what I found. I hope you found the video useful. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and browse the other videos. There's tons of stuff on M3, this car and M3s in general, and of course business and self-care and self-development. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.